Chris Anderson, Birdman.
What's up, guys? Chris Anderson, who you probably know as Birdman, was who everyone wished for in a teammate. He would hustle every single play no matter what and gave it his all on every possession. And he also looked cool doing it. Just look at the guy. The dude had the meanest mohawk and was tatted up like my player back in 2K17. What more could you ask for? Just don't interview him before a game. Birdman didn't exactly have the easiest route to the NBA. Chris's father left him when he was little, and Chris would also live in a barn at times using a garden hose as a shower. But soon after, Chris was discovered by his future high school coach, who basically convinced Chris to play because he'd have an opportunity for a scholarship. Fast forward a little bit, and Chris did receive some offers to play D1, but he didn't have the grades, so it pretty much was a waste. Instead, Birdman decided to attend Blinn College, and he absolutely dogged everyone in college and even led the nation in blocks. He was so confident he even dropped out to join the NBA draft, but for whatever reason, he didn't know he had to apply for the draft. So technically, I can apply for this year's draft if I wanted to, but things didn't look terrible for Birdman because eventually the Denver Nuggets called him up to the D-League, then eventually to the NBA. Birdman got his nickname in Denver from his teammates mainly because his teammates pointed out his long wingspan and his crazy energy on the court. Just look at this. The guy nearly broke his neck but didn't give a flying f and got up and kept playing. If that was anyone in today's NBA, they'd be out 4 to 6 business weeks. Birdman wasn't known as a scorer and was just a solid role player who brought good energy and was a good rim protector. So good that he averaged 2.5 blocks in the 08-09 season. Back in the 08-09 season, Birdman was averaging 6.4 points per game and 6.2 rebounds per game on top of the 2.5 blocks I previously mentioned. His stats weren't crazy, but you gotta keep in mind that he was only getting 20 minutes a game, so for the time that he was on the court, he was making a pretty big impact, honestly. Birdman's best game in that season was on March 20th of 2009. Birdman had 18 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 blocks, all in 22 minutes, which is insane. Fast forward to 2012 and Birdman became involved in one of the biggest catfishing schemes in the NBA. In 2012, a model by the name of Paris Dunn began flirting with pro athletes online. Keep in mind, she was 17 at the time, so she was an aspiring bop. But anyways, she began to catch the eyes of Birdman on Facebook, or that's what she thought at least. Paris received a DM from the person who was pretending to be Birdman on Facebook. Paris responded back to the DM and started talking to the catfisher on text, sending selfies, and talking daily. She even went as far as buying Birdman's jersey and sending a picture of her wearing the jersey to the catfisher. At this point, she thinks she's in an online relationship with who she thinks is Birdman. Paris then receives a text from some random guy named Tom Taylor who claims to be Birdman's best friend and started talking to Paris, saying he's good friends with Birdman. But one thing that was a red flag was that this up-and-coming bot didn't realize was that the phone numbers connected with Birdman and Tom Taylor's Facebook accounts both had an out-of-country area code of 204, and she never put the pieces together that this whole thing was a catfishing scheme. Now this is where the big plot twist happens. Birdman actually flies her out and they meet in person, and Birdman began asking some questions about what Paris had said over text. However, Paris had no idea what Birdman was talking about because the big plot twist was that Birdman was being catfished as well. So basically the catfish set the two up, and Birdman, who he thought was talking to Paris, was actually talking to the catfish, and Paris was talking to the catfish the whole time. So basically the catfish was being the middleman. The catfisher began to release Paris's photos online, and Paris thought it was Birdman releasing her photos online. And keep in mind, she's 17, so none of those photos she sent were allowed to be online, and so a whole police investigation began. And with that, the Nuggets decided to release Birdman in 2012, causing him to lose endorsements and millions of dollars. However, things decided to start looking good for Birdman once Colorado investigators cracked the case and found that all the texts that the catfisher was sending to Birdman and Paris was coming from the middle of nowhere in Canada. The catfisher, whose name was Shelly, was later caught and arrested for impersonation, blackmail, making threats, and transmitting child photos. Fast forward to 2013, and the Miami Heat decided to pick up Birdman. He would join that insane Heat squad which had LeBron, Chris Bosh, and D-Wade. The Heat had a crazy record of 66 and 16 that year, and Birdman was a solid role player for that team. He was a great addition because he was a rim protector and a hustle player, and ultimately the Heat would make it to the finals playing the San Antonio Spurs, and Birdman was averaging 4 points, half a block, and 3 rebounds in that series while averaging only 14 minutes a game. So maybe the catfishing thing was a blessing in disguise because Birdman ended up with the ring that year. But yeah, that's the end of the video. If you liked it, make sure you subscribe. See ya.